ahead and get started. I am Melinda Roulier. I'm one of the assistant principals. This is Jill Cole. She's one of our counselors. She's also our testing coordinator. I'm the testing administrator, so we kind of work as a team to do all the behind-the-scenes stuff that we have to do to get ready for testing. We do the COGAT testing with 2nd and 4th grade, ITBS testing with 3rd and 5th, and now we're headed into the Georgia Milestones, which is our biggie because that's the state mandated standardized test. And then we have Nora Vizuet here. She's our parent involvement facilitator. So if you need help with anything that we can't help you with, translating anything, see Nora, she can help you. But we will just go ahead and get started. The way we're going to do it tonight, some of you may have come last year. Nothing really major has changed from last year except for 3rd grade. 3rd grade was paper pencil last year, and now we're going to be all online. 3rd, 4th, and 5th, all tests are online. So that's the big change. Few other little minor changes, but now it's really bad. Now I'm like in the spotlight, but whatever. But just a few little other minor changes. So if you've come, you may have already heard some of this, but it doesn't hurt to kind of have a refresher on what it's all about, and then what can you do to help prepare your child. After we're done with the PowerPoint and kind of going over the test itself, if you are interested, what they have done this year is they have set up a secure practice test site and have given us practice test tickets to allow students, parents, teachers to go on and take a milestone test, a very, very short portion, just so that you can see the different types of questions and the different tools that are available to the students when they're taking that test. So when we're finished, any of you that are interested, we're going to go across the hallway to the computer lab, and we're going to hand you a test ticket, just like you're a student. You're going to have to sign it, just like the students do. Those are secure documents that we have to ship up, pack up and ship back to the county office that get, kept just like it used to be. The test book and the answer document was a secure thing, and we had to box them all up and count everyone. Same thing will happen, but now it's happening with a little sheet of paper instead. So we'll walk you through what a testing session, a small snippet of what a test would be like for your students that are going to be taking the milestone. So we'll go ahead and get started, and then we'll move into that at the end for those of you that are interested and want to try that. This is just a little a video overview from people at the State Department that can explain things maybe differently or better than we can.
Georgia students, parents, and educators have big goals, and now they have a tool to help them navigate their way. The Georgia Milestones Assessment System. Georgia Milestones provides a clear signal of students' academic performance, including how well they're prepared for what's next, whether that's the next grade, next course, or starting college or a career. Think of Georgia Milestones as a map. It provides information on students' academic journey, including how well they've mastered the content and skills at each grade or milestone. Georgia Milestones is developed and owned by Georgia and created in partnership with Georgia educators, colleges, universities, and businesses. Old methods of standardized testing are on the way out. Georgia Milestones provide an engaging, innovative testing experience. Students will take tests online, leveraging the power of computers and tablets. Students will still see multiple choice questions, but they will also encounter other questions where they'll be required to demonstrate what they know and can do. Constructed response questions will require students to create an answer rather than select one. Extended response questions will have multiple parts, requiring students to demonstrate a deeper level of understanding and reasoning. Students will interact with technology-enhanced questions. This could involve shading an object, editing text, or classifying items. These questions are more engaging and give students a better opportunity to demonstrate what they've learned. Georgia Milestones includes end-of-grade assessments in grades 3 through 8 and end-of-course assessments in high school. Content areas include English language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies. Results will provide critical information on overall student performance and specific data on skills like reading and writing. Students will receive Lexile scores, which help match students' reading skills with appropriate reading materials. Georgia Milestones will also provide norm reference scores, which tell students how they achieved relative to students across the country. Parents will see how well their student has mastered state academic standards and how prepared he or she is for the next educational level. Teachers will have actionable information for remediation and enrichment efforts. And schools can use this information to identify program strengths and weaknesses. It's amazing how far good information can take us. Georgia Milestones is an innovative assessment program that will help us reach our ultimate goal: successful Georgia graduates ready to embark on their next journey in life.
Okay, so that's just a little overview of Milestones, what the purpose is, and how it was created, and what types of questions the students will see. It's very different from the CRCT, the Criterion Reference Competency Test that we had gotten so used to, because that whole test was what we call now selected response, or what we know as multiple choice. There were no constructed responses, no fill in the blanks, no short answer, none of that. It was simply A, B, C, or D. So they're open-ended. There's a writing component in the language arts section where they have to write extended responses to text that they have read, comparing, contrasting, those types of things. That also provides a writing score in addition to, whereas when we did CRCT, we would have to give a separate writing assessment in order to get writing scores on the students. Now it's embedded in the same assessment. It's norm referenced and criterion referenced. Criterion reference is based on the standards. What are the Georgia standards that they were required to learn, and how well did they learn them? Norm referenced are questions that are throughout various tests throughout the nation, to where they can get a peer norm from peers of children the same age across the nation. So there are specific questions on each section, each content area, that are put there so that we can get a norm for our students and to see how they're doing compared to students across the country. And then we're obviously transitioning to online administration. It's definitely more rigorous. It's testing more of that critical thinking. How are they taking what they are learning and being able to apply that in new situations, not just learning it and being able to spit it back, but what can you do with it? It's designed to show student growth and to show how prepared our students are for the next level. It's accessible to all students, even those with disabilities, limited English proficiency, and it's there to help guide us in our instructional practices and how can we improve what we're doing every day in the classroom so students can achieve more. It's a valid measure of student achievement. It's a clear signal of the student's preparedness for the next level. We use it to provide information for students in 3rd grade in reading, and then 5th grade in reading and math, to decide whether or not they are promoted to the next grade level. If they do not perform where they should perform, then they're given a retest this year that we didn't have last year. We will have our scores back in May. We will have time to do some remediation with those students that do not pass, and then they will take the test again, just the reading and just the math, for depending on which part. 3rd grade only reading, 5th grade depending on whether or not they need to take just reading, just math, or possibly both. If they don't pass the retest, then what happens is we set up a team to sit down and meet and discuss the whole child, their report card grades, their COGAT that they've had previously, ITVS scores, attendance, behavior. I mean, just basically anything and everything that we can discuss about that child, including their results on the milestones. And then a team decision is made whether or not they will be promoted to the next grade level or not. It's presented as a promotion or retention test because it dictates that we do have to have those meetings, but it's a team decision whether or not that student is promoted or not. And that team is the parent, the teachers that taught them that year, administration, anyone else that's been involved in that child's education is invited to that meeting. Those usually happen right around pre-planning when the teachers go back to school. Toward the end of the summer is when those meetings happen. And then it also supports teacher effectiveness and how well the teachers' instructional practices are and how well they are pushing children from one level to the next level and how those children can show growth so that those teachers can learn from and improve on their instructional practices. 4 parts. We're used to reading and language arts being separate, but in milestones, reading and language arts are together into what is called English language arts. If you have 4th or 5th graders, then you got the milestones report from last year, and it was broken down into their overall ELA score, their reading, whether they were below grade level, on grade level, or above grade level in reading. It gave you their Lexile, band, as well as their writing score, how they did on the writing component. So all that is embedded in the ELA. For ELA, we have the different types of questions. Selected response, which is like the multiple choice. Constructed response is where they have to manipulate something and put an answer in, like the fraction it showed you. Extended constructed response, where they actually have to write something and type into the text box and describe their answer. Extended writing response is a little bit longer, more like a short paragraph to talk about how they got their answer, where's the evidence to prove your answer. And then on the language arts, there's also an evidence-based multiple part item. So there'll be like a part A, and I'll ask a question, and then there'll be a part B that'll ask a different type of question, but still about the same passages that they've read, to where they can get more information from the student. So it's a longer, a little more rigorous for the kids. Math has selected response, constructed response, extended response, or it's extended constructed, and then doesn't have the extended writing, but it does have the evidence-based multiple part A, part B, part C. And then science and social studies, it's all selected response, all multiple choice. So there are none of the fill in the blanks, manipulating, or any of that. These are revised from last year. The times that we had last year have changed just a little bit. For some of them, they took 5 minutes away. Some of them, they added a little bit. English Language Arts has 3 sections. The students will take section 1 and 2 in one day. And then the next day that they test, they'll take section 3. This is where the extended, the longer responses are. The minimum time students have to take. In other words, the teachers can't tell the students to close their laptop and get up and go about their day teaching until 60 minutes has passed. They have to sit there for a full 60 minutes. The maximum time that the class can take is 75. So if the 60 minutes has passed and quite a few students are still working, the teacher can continue to let the students work until they've reached that 75 minutes. Once they've reached the 75 minutes, you have to say, I'm sorry, we've run out of time. You're going to have to end your test wherever they are. That's a lot of time. Most kids don't have trouble finishing too much of the time. They rush through and then they're bored out of their minds because they've rushed to be done, and then they still have to sit there forever. And it's very difficult to get kids to go back and double check your answers, make sure you've spent sufficient amount of time. So if that's one thing you can talk with your kids about, is take your time. You've got plenty of time. Don't rush. If you see kids around you that start to, you can tell that they're finished, doesn't matter. You've got plenty of time. Take your time. It's more important to do your best than be the first.
They can't do anything anyway, so.
Right. Students who have 504s or an IEP, special education students, or some of our English language learner students that go to ESOL, they may have accommodations that allow them more time than what's here, depending on what those individual students' needs are. Did you have a question, or did I
Yeah,
answer?
the extra time, is that a teacher discretion, or is that always given the extra time?
If you still have students working,
They get that.
you give that time to them.
Okay.
If your whole class is finished in the 60 minutes, then you don't have to make them sit there for another 15 minutes. Okay? This is the longest, the English Language Arts Day. That's the day that's the grueler for the kids because it is a long period of time. They do get a break. In between these sections, they can take a 10 to 15 minute break, get water, have a little snack, suck on a mint. Mints are really good to wake up the brain. And then even in this section, they can don't they take a break?
I think they can take a break during that.
I think there's a stopping point to where they can stop and take a break. And then we have math, science, and social studies. Science and social studies are the least amount of time, so those are a little bit, luckily, because those are also at the very end of the testing time, so by then they understand that kids are kind of worn out from the whole testing process, and so they keep those tests a little bit shorter, and it doesn't take them long to answer the selected response as it does some of the constructed and extended response. This is really, as long as your child is in elementary or middle school, it's end of grade, EOG. Once they hit high school, or if they're in 8th grade and taking some high school classes, then they'll take some end of course. So when they finish with, algebra 2 or calculus or whatever, they'll take a test on that specific subject. So their main testing window, we start testing April 14th. Not every kid in 3rd, 4th, and 5th tests every day. It's like an A-B schedule. So if they test on day A, then they won't test on day B. The teachers will use that time to review and practice for the next content area test. And then the retest is slated to be in May, toward the end of May. The field tests. They always throw some test questions in there that are not scored, but they throw them in there to try to see how the students do on them, to see whether it's a valid, a reliable test question, or whether for this age group this is way too hard, whether it's way too easy. They always throw those field test questions in there just to try to keep an idea of how the test needs to modify and be changed as it goes. The evidence base, we talked about that, where they answer inferential key concepts, questions related to the text. The second part, they have to use evidence to support their responses, and then the way they score it's kind of on a rubric. So if you answer part 1, I don't really know exactly how to explain this. Part 1 and 2 must be correct to receive 2 points. You can get 1 point if only 1 or 2 is correct. So if you get it one part right and one part wrong, you're not totally out of luck. Oh, was this on there last year or is this new?
I think this is new.
I think this is new, I could be wrong, but some of the selected response questions will have more than one correct answer. And so the students are guided, and you'll see
I'll
an
show you
example. If you
some,
stay
yeah.
for the example in the computer lab, you'll see what it means.
And I
But-
put some on the slide too, so we'll see some.
Yeah, it'll say, select all the, the choices below that are correct, or something to that effect. Select 2 numbers that could be the number that John got, so they have to select the 2 that could be correct. Select 3 statements about the piles that are true. So that's gonna be a little bit like, what?
Throughout the year,
Yeah.
do you,
Do the teachers prepare them for
Correct.
that?
yeah, throughout the year, like the work that they do in class or homework, does it prepare them for stuff like that? Because most kids are, like you're talking about Russian, right? Ah, they're gonna find the right answer. Are they gonna like work on these problems that kind of
Yes.
prepare them for this? Okay.
Yes, the
Yes.
teachers work very hard to prepare the kids. A lot of people will say it's like teaching the test. You really do have to teach the test. Because of things like this, you have to teach them the format of the test and what to expect and how the questions are gonna be worded and how they're gonna be set up and how to, what is it asking you for? So they do a lot of work in trying to prepare them for what to expect. Our students will also be taking the sample that you guys are going to take in the computer lab. All of our students are going to be doing that as well. So they have experience actually being in the same system that they're going to be in when they take the milestones. So the format for where to click and those types of things won't be new to them.
And there's stuff that you guys can do at home, the practice tests as well, which we suggest, sit down with your child and do it, just so they're more prepared and they're not as nervous for it, I think.
Oh, good, so they do have sample tests
Yes.
online?
Mhm.
Oh, good, awesome.
And this is, I'll try to go through this pretty quickly because
Yes.
we're gonna post the link to this PowerPoint or the video, one or the other, on the website. So if you wanna go back and look at it at your own leisure and look more closely. But these next slides are a breakdown of how many different question types there are gonna be on each individual content area. So this is 3rd grade ELA. So there's 30 constructed response, there's 20 norm reference, so those ones where we get the norm, how we compare our students to students across the nation. 20 of those, 10 points go toward their criterion reference score. So they're gonna, it goes toward their norm reference, but part of it also plays into their criterion reference score. Constructed response for ELA, there's only 2. They get 4 points toward their criterion reference score. Extended constructed response, there's only 1. The extended writing response, where it's like a larger text box, they have to write more, there's only 1. So a lot of people think, oh, the whole test is where they're having to type answers. It's not. For English language arts, it's really 2. So it's a little less scary when you realize that. When we all thought, when the milestones was first coming out, that was the big thing. They're gonna have to write about every answer. I mean, how are these people gonna grade this? How are our kids gonna do on this? These do count a lot toward, this one counts 4 points toward their score, 7 points toward their score. So it does count in, it does factor in, but it's not the whole test. And then there are 6 questions on there that aren't scored against the child at all, for or against the child. So that's just the rest of that explains the different codes. Depth of knowledge, if you've been around education for a while, it used to be called Bloom's taxonomy. It's basically the rigor. How rigorous is it? Is this a level 1 question? Is it asking for a fact? Is it a level 2? Do you have to have a little bit, be able to, take one part and figure out how to do the other part? Level 2. Level 3, complex. You gotta formulate use evidence and formulate your answer. And then level 4 is the highest level, extended reasoning. You gotta be able to take things from multiple places, tie it all together, talk about how it compares and contrasts, that type of thing. So the questions are leveled. There's a rubric for scoring those extended responses that is used to help get that score, depending on how much they're able to give you. We won't go into the details of that. This is the math. For math, there's one extended response. This is a breakdown of the weight based on the content areas. For example, in 3rd grade math, geometry is only 10%. So if your kid struggles with that, they might be okay. But geometry is usually pretty easy for most kiddos in 3rd grade. It gets harder as you get older, but the heaviest weight is numbers and operations. Operations and algebraic thinking, 25, and then measurement and data, 30. Just tells you kind of the breakdown. Science, no selected response, or no constructed response item. And there are 10 field test items on there that won't count toward it. And this is pretty evenly split between earth, physical, and life science. Social studies, again, 9 field test items and no constructed response. I wish they would say multiple choice. I'm having trouble with selected and constructed. And here, history and government have a little bit more weight than geography and economics. And I'm not going to go through every grade level. They're pretty much the same in every grade level. That's really little. Part A, Part B, Part C, we talked about that in the extended response. If you want to look at this later, I'm not going to go through all of this, but if you want to go back and look at this later, these are an example of, this is a really good answer. This is an exemplar response, one that you can look at as an example of a child that would score very well. This is when it was paper pencil, but this would be now equivalent to what they would type in their box. And it tells you, it kind of explains how the student's answer is correct, incorrect. This is a different student. All right, and then we all want to know before the test. What do kids need before a test?
Sleep.
Sleep.
Yes.
They need to go to bed on time or earlier, like about 6:30, right?
Me too.
She's dozing over here. I know I'm not very exciting. I know. Plenty of rest.
Get a good breakfast, no carbs, try proteins, things like that. Healthy breakfast
Right.
is really good.
This is the big one. Teachers are guilty of this and parents are guilty of this. Kids are nervous enough by themselves. They don't need us to make them any more nervous than they already are. We need to be supporting them and we need to be telling them, you have done everything you can do. It's your time to show what you have learned. It's your time to show what do you know. It's not about all the stuff you don't know. It's about showing what you know. So you just go in there and you do the best you can do and everything's going to be okay. This is one piece of who you are as a student. One piece. It is not the whole student. It does not define who Sadie is. It doesn't define who anybody is. It's one piece of your child's academics. Okay? One piece. It's not the be-all, end-all. Okay? And that's how we look at it. Unfortunately, it is a big piece for, the teachers. It does go into their evaluation and how they are rated. And now how things are changing, whether or not they can continue to teach, whether or not their certification will be renewed or not. So there's a lot of pressure on the teachers to make sure students are performing and that they are growing. But if we are nervous and we show kids that we're nervous about it, then they're gonna be even more nervous. So we have to be that calm, that confident, you're gonna be fine. If you don't do well, it's not the end of the world, we'll deal with that when that happens. All I ask is that you give me your best. So we have to show them that it's just one part of who they are, it's not the whole big picture, and they're gonna be okay. And then when the test is over and we get the results, you'll get a four-page report about your child's results. They will fall under 4 categories: a beginning learner, which is a level 1, a developing learner, which is level 2, proficient learner, level 3, and distinguished learner, which is level 4. We aim to have all of our students fall in the 3 and 4, the proficient and distinguished. That's what's considered passing. On the CRCT, we had did not meet, meets, and exceeds. Level 3 and 4 are the meets and the exceeds. Level 1 and level 2 are the did not meet. It just breaks it down further than CRCT did.
So on the record that you get back, do you get to see how your kid answered the question? The actual answer that he took off?
You will be able to see how they did under each domain in that content area, whether they did better than in life science than in physical science, but you won't get a breakdown of like specific, how many questions they got right, how many they got wrong, what types of questions they got right, what type they got wrong.
Because it's a secure test, like you wouldn't be able to see the questions. Just like, remember when we used to have
Because
the,
they use them over and over again.
yeah,
No,
so,
no, I agree, but
Yeah.
at least the range of,
yeah.
or at least subject, right? Like, hey,
Yes,
you need
yes.
to work
Oh,
on.
yes.
Social studies.
Yes, you'll
Yeah.
get, right, you'll get
Will
that
you-
level 1, 2, 3, 4 for ELA. You'll get level 1, 2, 3, 4 for math, level 1, 2, 3, 4 for science, and for social. You get a different score for each subject. And then it's broken down further by the different domains in those areas. And you can see, is it geometry, is it physical, or numbers and operations, what is it?
Okay.
Where's their biggest weakness?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm getting to. Can you really pinpoint the things that you need to target instead of the broad?
Right,
broad?
yeah.
Should have missed this, but,
Oh,
oh, what?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that website that will give.
Hopefully it's working though. What did I do
Or
with
just
it?
do the Georgia GOE one, and just so they can look and see what's expected. This is, I mean, if they wanna study,
Oh, the resource guide.
yes,
Oh,
this is
thank you.
very, yeah, this is the best thing on the whole
Are
PowerPoint.
we gonna go?
Yeah, is it not going? Oh, you froze it, how do we?
I didn't freeze it. It's because we have to get out of the slideshow.
But this particular website will be sent out to the parents, correct?
Yes, this is gonna be on here, and we're gonna put it on our website, correct? Yep, so yes, and I think your teachers will probably give it to you too.
Okay.
This is like good stuff.
Yeah, if you just go to GADOE
Mm-hmm.
You'll see it.
.org and then go in there and find all the milestones information, you can find all kinds of links and things in
And
there.
like things to study, what terminology, like there's economics in
This
grade
is-
3, it's really,
So
really good.
it'll be on the Cherokee County School.
On our,
We'll
on
have it
our
on Clark Creek.
Clark Creek website, we'll
Clark.
post
Yes,
a link.
we'll put it in.
I might have missed it in the beginning, but who did you say actually grades the test?
Um,
The State
State of Georgia.
Department.
It's not us.
So it goes out and then,
Mhm, yeah, because it's all online, so we'll get the we'll get the scores back a lot sooner, so, but,
So this is at a state or federal level?
this is state level.
When do you guys expect the scores for us to
Some-
know?
First or second week of May. And then we have about a week to remediate, and then we'll retest those students who need to be retested.
Before the school year ends?
Before the last day,
Mhm.
probably that last week or so. Yes, ma'am.
¿Ese
Is
no
there
lo
a
estoy
reason
cambiando
why
por?
it's always right after
Ese
spring
no tiene
break
nada que ver con el
versus
cambio.
before spring break?
Solo el currículum.
To give as
Es
much
el
time
currículum que
for the
sigue.
teachers to cover that
Ese es el
content,
currículum.
as
¿Cómo que es el
possible.
currículum?
Entonces este es por medio
Does
del
it help them
cambio.
to have that break or like?
We use, in the past for CRCT, there have been years that we did spring break and we came back on Monday and started testing. That was awful.
Isn't that what?
That's what we're doing here though.
No.
But we have a.
No, we don't start testing until the Thursday after spring break. So we have
So you
Monday,
have
Tuesday,
time to get
Wednesday.
Well, you said April 14th, that's the Monday after spring break, isn't it?
No, our spring break is April 1st or April.
No, April.
4th through the 8th.
4th through the 8th.
4th through the 8th, and then, so then we got to have some time to,
Is it finished by the weekend though? No.
No.
because remember, like, third grade might test on Monday, on Thursday, and then on Monday. You know, so they're not
So
gonna
how many
test.
days of testing is it for the student?
For the students, it's 5 days of testing because you have section 1 and 2 for the 4 content areas and then that section 3 for ELA. So they will test for 5 days.
Okay.
We start on a Thursday, more than likely most of, or probably all of third and either all or some of fourth. We haven't worked out to whether we have to split fourth or not. We'll test on Thursday, and then 5th grade will test on Friday. And then the next week, we will test 3rd and 4th again on Monday, 5th on Tuesday, 3rd, 4th on Wednesday, 5th on Thursday, and retests for kids who were absent or missed certain sections on Friday. So nobody will take we won't have a whole building full of testing going on other than makeups on those second. And then we do it again the following week to get everybody in.
So
until all-
if a kid is sick by some chance in the hospital or something like that, they do
Right,
get tests
Right,
and makeup.
we do makeups in the afternoon for kids when we can, but then we also have those 2 Fridays that are set aside as makeup days, and then 1 whole day at the end of the testing week that is set aside for makeup as well. So if they think they're gonna get out of it,
They're not, we're gonna make a
Probably
test,
not.
I know. And then they miss recess, they're upset, so,
yeah, and it's not good for kids to have to do the retest in the afternoon or on a separate day than all of their classmates. So if at all possible, they need to be here with their regular class. It just throws them off, it does. But we're required to test every student. As long as they're here at some point in that window, we have to test them.
so these are just, go through the examples, look at the kind of passages they're gonna have to read, the kind of answers they're looking for, what it looks like. Social studies and science gives exactly, some key terms to know, so it's a really good website.
It's a good resource for
It
parents.
is a great resource. If you want to study with your kids, how to help them prepare, you guys read these. Talk about the answers. Look at the science vocabulary.
I was planning to print and have some of these ready for you, but I think it's 184 pages.
Yes.
So, in this day and age of technology, I figured I wouldn't do that and waste all that paper that most everybody has access that wants it. If anybody doesn't have access to be able to get to this, let me know and I can, print a copy for
Print some, or, come use our computers, or.
Any other questions before we go across? Yes, ma'am?
Will be the date assigned to a particular student when he's taking the test, or it will be selected by the teacher that this day he's taking the test and the next day, the half of the other class or the.
No, if it's, for example, Miss Harrison in 3rd grade, all of her class will test on that day. And they don't have their schedule yet, so they don't know exactly which days are what. We're still finalizing some of our small groups, some of our students that test in smaller settings and things like that. So we're still working out on some of those details and then working out, because we have to pull laptops from everywhere we can find them in the building to have enough computers for everybody to test at one time. So we have to make sure we have enough laptops available to see whether or not we can test all of 4th at the same time we test 3rd.
But we'll be
So,
informed
but
when
you
by-
will know, the teachers will know what their schedule is. I'm hoping by Friday before the break. If not, they will know by Monday or Tuesday. And then you parents will know whether or not your child is testing on Thursday or whether they're testing on Friday. I can tell you, no 5th grade will be testing on that Thursday. They can't test until the Friday. I
know
think
if
that
it's
comes from
state or
the,
the
I don't know if it comes from county or state, but they give us a calendar that says at least some of your 3rd and 4th graders have to take the test on this day. And then fifth grade can't start until the next day. Then they can take it after that, but some of those students have to start on the day they tell us they have to start. It's a little wonky and crazy.
And that's not your teacher's fault that they don't have their schedule, so.
No, that's us. We're working on it.
We're working on it.
But if your child's a third grader, then you know they're gonna start on on the 14th, that Thursday. If your child's a fifth grader, you know they're gonna start on that Friday, the 15th. If they're a fourth grader, it could be the 14th, or it could be the 15th. We're still working on that, but any other questions? Okay, well, what we're gonna do now is, if you'll give us just a second to walk back there so we can get your test ticket ready. If you want to experience what it's like, join us in the computer lab, and you can sign in as though you're taking the test and experience what a little bit of it is like.
And also, there's a survey code. It's one of those QR, so if you scan your phone, if you'll just kind of fill out the survey, just kind of let us know what you thought. It's not very long, okay, and then we can get some feedback, that'd be great.